Her name is nearly synonymous with the International Institute of St. Louis. Anna Crosslin has made it her life's work to create opportunities for immigrants. Through her 42 years at the helm of the Institute, she's made St. Louis a refuge for people all over the globe. Because of Crosslin's vision, immigrants find St. Louis to be a welcoming gateway to a new life. Whether they fled Vietnam in the 1970s, Bosnia in the 1990s, or Middle East or African countries in the 21st century.
We provide what is needed by the populations that happen to be coming at a given moment. And so if you look back historically, we've always taught English since day one, because we recognize that if you can't communicate in English, it really is a barrier to being able to totally acclimatize to being in America. The economic opportunities really aren't going to be available to you unless you can provide some basic skills for people that don't have them, or connect people with skills to the jobs that are out in the community. And so employment has always been a big part of what we do. And being able to provide the care and counseling and connectedness, especially for people who might arrive over here traumatized and really deprived of part of their family, part of their lives. Their whole story sometimes almost disappears. And so being able to help people like this who really have so little when they arrive, and yet are, number one, tremendously resilient, and number two, have assets to be able to offer to the community, is really what the International Institute is about.
It might be said Crosslin was born for the position. She's the daughter of a Japanese immigrant and an American military father who served in the Korean War. When she was 7 years old, her father's plane was lost at sea. New to this country, her immigrant mother was left with 3 young children. Her paternal grandmother helped to raise them.
I've always been drawn to the International Institute and what is provided here, because it's the helping hand for people who may not have that American-born grandmother or a volunteer to be able to help them out on the outside. But the Institute then attempts to be that connector between the newcomer and the wider community.
Crosslin came from Seattle to St. Louis to attend Washington University. After graduation, she worked at the university's Office of International Studies.
I learned to write a grant. I learned to write a grant and package a grant at a time when refugee resettlement was beginning to evolve in this country. And so if you remember 1978, early 1979, it was the time of the boat people, the busted boats floundering on the South China Seas. People knew that something was going to happen in terms of a refugee resettlement program.
In 1978, she was offered the position of executive director at the Institute.
The organization was very small. There were 9 staff, including the housekeeper and the part-time maintenance guy and a couple of part-time English instructors. And we were located in a circa 1890 Victorian mansion in the Central West End. We taught classes in the attic, up on the 3rd floor, and in the top of the carriage house.
Before the travel ban, the Institute helped 6,000 immigrants and refugees each year, with everything from housing to job placement to microloans for startup businesses.
Refugees and immigrants bring opportunities to the community. They provide a cultural vibrancy to the community that adds to it and attracts and retains others who, in fact, are looking for a global environment in which to live. They are far more likely to be entrepreneurs and job creators than the general American population has been. You still can be a unique individual within the larger society of America, and that all of us should appreciate our differences, value our differences within an inclusive society that welcomes everyone.
With a goal in mind of celebrating cultural differences, Crosslin co-founded the annual Festival of Nations. She also helped co-found the St. Louis Mosaic Project, an organization that works to attract immigrants to the region.
That's really, I think, a challenge that we have, because it's about population loss among the wider community that we have here in St. Louis City, county, etc. How do you add population. Well, population right now mostly is added through immigration. And so the cities around the United States that are growing because of immigration. I mean, that's the bottom line.
In recognition of her long career, Crosslin was recently awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Missouri Commission on Human Rights. As she prepares to retire, Crosslin leaves the International Institute on a solid footing. Although she's been the catalyst to the organization's growth, she says it's always been a team effort.
There are a huge number of people here that, as leaders and staff people and volunteers, that have done enormous work behind the scenes. And, with a 100-year record here in the community as well, our roots are really deep. People say, well, how'd you stay here for 42 years? And I say, well, part of it was that the organization, as I said, was very small when I arrived. And every 5 years or so, the population we were serving would change. A new grant came online, a new service. We opened a new program or a service, and all of a sudden the organization was different than it was 5 years before. So I've been really lucky because I've actually worked for 3 or 4 different organizations in those 42 years. I just never had to leave the International Institute in order to do it.
Occasionally, Crosslin will run into families she's helped who are now second or sometimes third generation Americans.
That's my greatest accomplishment, is that I helped to provide a life and an opportunity for people who might not have been able to have it should the International Institute, and to a degree I, had not been here to be able to help.